Hey, Brandon, I'm Jeff Shudell from the News Herald. How are you doing?
It's been a long time, Jeff. How you doing?
Everybody in Perry loves you, as you can imagine. I want to ask you, what did what did playing for Bob Ridley do for your career as a coach and just being from Perry?
Well, I think anyone that knows Coach,
Recording in progress.
I think anyone that knows Coach Ridley knows that he is a special, special man. I don't think I ever met a player, a teacher, a coach, someone that didn't have direct contact with him that just didn't revere him. There was kind of reverence that Coach Ritt had that when you were in the presence of him, you just felt different. You felt special, and he just had that special way about him. He kind of got the essence of football. He got the essence of teaching and coaching, and I think that that's why we all loved playing for him so much. He had the same staff for over 20 years, and so all of us that were fortunate to go to school there, we kind of all played for the same coaches, and we really had a lot of stability, a lot of continuity growing up. And then just as we got older, all the things that he was able to do for us. Certainly, I was able to see what a head coach should look like, a leader, a person that not only was a great football coach, but the type of leader, the type of connector within the community, someone that could, he could have a conversation with anybody. And you'd feel better about yourself. And certainly, I miss him. I've been able to keep in contact with his wife and his son Tim, who was a heck of a player when I was growing up. Played at the University of Akron. But everyone back home, there's nothing like home. So that place means a lot to me. I'm actually going back there for the first time in about 2 years here in a couple days. So Coach really meant an awful lot to me.
Cliff Hunton was my social studies teacher at West Geauga. I also want to ask you about John Carroll. How did that experience, and especially that game against Baldwin Wallace, that was so exciting. How do you think that helped your career?
Yeah, anybody that knows me knows that John Carroll was a place that really shaped me. I think that that's where I really discovered myself as a leader, as a coach. I kind of hit a sweet spot there. The people at John Carroll, that place, just the players, the coaches, the administration, professors, that campus community meant a lot to my wife and I. And, those players are a big reason why I'm here today. And I've talked a lot about them in press conferences. There's too many to name. But that experience with Tom Arth, that was just one of those really, sort of impactful experiences for me. And like I said, where I really kind of found my rhythm as a coach. And I think, that team that we had in 2016, people will look at that team and, that's certainly the best team in school history, and it's one of the best defenses I've ever been a part of. I've been a part of 2 number 1 defenses in the NFL, and that defense we had in 2016 was as good as I've ever been a part of. But that whole process started in 2013. The 2016 was kind of the end of that run that we had, and it took a lot of time to get there, even though we were able to get it going quickly. But those 4 years there were really impactful, and I think it's such an example of what you can do when you have special people in place that are believing in the same thing, that are pulling the same direction. And those games that we had at that place, when you go and you look back at my last year at John Carroll, you play Mount Union, you beat a team that had not lost in 11 years in the regular season. And we beat them at their place. I mean, that's as big of a win as you can have. I mean, it's such a historic win. We, beat Wesley, Wisconsin Whitewater. Wisconsin Whitewater hadn't lost a home playoff game in 7 years, and then to go up to Oshkosh, playing Oshkosh, that's like playing the Baltimore Ravens. That's the type of style team. Everyone's going to smile, but I'm telling you, they had this back, Dylan Hecker. They had a quarterback, and that offense is very similar to defending the Baltimore Ravens. And defending Mount Union, and you guys are aware of some of the coaches that have come out of there, Division III to the NFL. I'm just telling you, like some of those programs that we're talking about, those are historic places. And, I really learned a lot about myself as a coach, as a competitor, as a leader, being in those environments. And a lot of people may laugh at that, but, I've told everybody that's been a part of my NFL career that those experiences directly, led me to where I am today, and I'm so thankful for them. And John Carroll, much like my high school Perry, John Carroll is just one of those special places for me.
Okay, thanks a lot, Brandon. Good luck this season.
Thanks, Jeff.
Chris Harry.
Coach, what was it like to have Drew Brees out there on the grass today?
Great to see a familiar face. I know, when I heard he and Al Michaels were coming to practice today, you got two titans, in the NFL profession. One of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play, and then certainly an iconic media figure, someone who's, two guys that have really helped shape the NFL. And so, I've known about Drew for a long time. As a young quarterback growing up, he was certainly a guy that I looked up to as a guy that wasn't very tall, but just had all the intangibles, all the things, all those that make up all that leadership that you guys are so aware of. And, going way back to Purdue, he's a guy that just I really looked up to. And then certainly having a more intimate, view of him through Joe, I was able to go to New Orleans in 2009 and really see him operate at a high level. And that was one of those experiences that really shaped me, seeing him up close in person. And, hey, this is who you got to beat, a guy like this. And what really stood out to me is just the type of competitor that he is. And certainly, his consistency, standing the test of time. I mean, everyone's aware of all the statistics, the 5,000-yard seasons, the touchdowns. But, he's also a Super Bowl champion. And then what he did for the city of New Orleans, where New Orleans was in 2006 when he got there and where it is now, those are two very different places. So to have him at practice was great, and Al Michaels as well. To have those guys around our team, that's going to be something that hopefully will be, a lot more of that stuff type of happening here. And looking forward to, after this press conference, spending some time and hopefully learning a bunch from him.
Hey, Coach, as you guys break for a little bit before camp, what did you tell the guys? What was your message to the team as they kind of get a little rest here and then ramp up for late July?
I was just really thankful. I was really thankful for the guys. I really appreciated their performance in this offseason program. I really thought that we showed that we're a team. Anytime you're joining up with new people, that's a process to earn, their trust. We talked about you can respect somebody before you trust them. And what's really goes into our program, relationships, competition. In a relationship, it's a lot easier to kind of respect someone from afar. Like, I didn't know Keenan Allen, but man, I respect his game from afar. It's a far different thing to trust one another. And that took some time, but I think that we certainly proved that this offseason, as you guys are aware, finished, kind of the pandemic and all the, kind of the challenges off the field, us coming together, designing an offseason program that we really feel like works for us, doing that together. I feel like we got off to a good start, and then we were able to finish this the right way at Minicamp. And that's what I told them, is I was just really impressed at our operation. And, today was, I think the culmination of a team effort. It's sports performance, coaching, personnel, equipment, video, all those people coming together to have a great weekend and get ourselves right going to the summertime feeling like, hey, we're headed towards something. So I just very appreciative of those guys and really excited to get back to work with them in July.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you, Chris.
Nick Hamilton.
Hey, Coach, you talked about just having that chemistry and building that camaraderie. But what did you learn about Keenan Allen and guys like Austin Eckler, and how much input do you have as far as just having conversations with them to try to get to know them and try to kind of cater to their strengths and things like that?
Yeah, just right away with specifically with Keenan is just the respect that he has on our entire team. I think being at other places that I've been at, I mean, certainly the respect for the player, but then when you meet Keenan in person, just the respect that he has with his teammates on both sides of the ball in the kicking game, and just the work ethic that he has, and all he's put into his craft to earn the mantle that he's earned as a receiver and as a premium player in this league. So his leadership kind of stands out, and kind of how he goes about it. He's just kind of got this smooth style that everybody responds to. He's kind of a vibrant guy, and he's an honest guy. And that's what I really like about him, is we can get to the point quickly. And then Austin, he's one of these guys, as you guys all know, he's full of energy, he's full of life. His story and how he's, made it to this point, I think it's just such a great example of what can happen in life. And I think that he's one of these young guys that's kind of finding his stride in this league and within our team. And those are two guys that I've really enjoyed getting to know, and they certainly helped me a lot over the course of these first 5 months.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Fernando.
Brandon, when you were first hired, obviously the second person you called was Justin. You've been working with Justin this whole time. Now that you got to see him on the field and everything, kind of what are some of your impressions of Justin?
Yeah, Fernando, I think what stands out to me is he's got real presence on the field. I think that's what you're looking for in a franchise quarterback, is does he have that kind of command presence on the field? Certainly his stature, but then how his teammates view him, how do his coaches view him, how do people, in sports performance, video equipment, how do they view him? He certainly has earned the respect of those people, and I think that that's something that's really important before you start getting to the physical part. And then when you do get to the physical part, this guy's huge and really athletic, arm strength. This guy can really rip it. He can access any part of the field, but he can also layer his ball. He's got that ability to shoot the shot that needs to be shot, and that's something that I've really been impressed with. And then the athleticism, balance, body control, and then what's really expressed itself, I think, over the last 2.5 weeks is him as a commander in the offense and being comfortable in and out of the huddle, protections, kills, alerts, 2-minute drill, all those things have kind of come to life for him, and I think he's in a good spot. And I think what was good is that he had to work to get there. It wasn't easy for him right off the bat, and I think that that's what he and I talked about is, most of the things in life that are worth it, you really have to fight for. It's not just going to happen right away. And we didn't want to take it easy on him. We wanted to make it right for him. And those are two different things. And I think that Justin is such a hard worker. And I think that when you see him out on the practice field, you can see all that hard work really shine. And I thought he had a really solid 2 days here.
And Brandon, what was your message? I mean, usually right now with this month and a half off, coaches say don't do anything dumb, don't make sure you're working out and everything. What was your message to your team before this break?
I think the message was simple, is really, hey, let's keep doing things our way, guys. We've really established a really strong foundation, and let's really take advantage of these next 5 weeks. Let's really look at it as an opportunity to get better, to improve our game, and to truly be prepared for training camp. And I think that that's how I always try to approach things is honestly, but from the competitive, the challenging, the opportunity side of things. And I think that everybody here has got a real detailed plan about where they need to go with their game, both on and off the field. And hopefully when we hit the ground on July 27th, when they report, they feel really strongly that they can be the best versions of themselves because of all the work they put in. And I think that that's something, that you must emphasize at all times is in order to be the best version of yourself, you really got to work at it, and so we've really detailed that up so they can take advantage of these 5 weeks and really be ready to go July 27th.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, Fernando.
Dennis Freeman.
Hi, Coach Staley, how are you today?
Hey, Dennis.
Who has stood out the last couple of days in regards to the defensive side of the ball for you?
Oh, Dennis. If I said all of them, would that be unoriginal? I think that it's been great to get Joey Bosa here. Kind of start with Joey. I think that when you add him on the edge of our defense, that certainly is a different looking movie with him in it. So him coming in, just being able to spend some time with him and the way he's looked an individual with Jay and the other edge guys, I think he's in really good shape, and just really looking forward to having an awesome training camp with him. But certainly just really excited to work with him. And then I think what we've been able to do is really establish a team, and up front, Giff Smith and his crew, getting LJ, Linval Joseph's in great shape. Justin Jones, Jerry Tillery, Christian Covington, that group of guys. We got some young guys competing. TJ Smith, it's going to be Brendan Fahoku. That group is going to be competing, but I really like the makeup of that group. And then an inside backer, you got K9, Kenneth Murray, Tranquil, Kaiser White, Cole Christensen. You got Nick Neiman, Eamon. That's a really good group led by Mike Wilhoit and Johnny Timu. And I think that they're operating the way we want, at inside linebacker, running the show, playing behind the ball. I think it's got a group that's versatile. It's going to be a competitive group. Certainly the kicking game will have a lot to that. And then in the secondary, you guys all are becoming aware of how we want to do things. We got a lot of competition at corner, safety, star, money, really trying to find out, who can do all those things at a high level and really try and push it with these guys. From an installation standpoint, Dennis, well, I think we really pushed it with these guys and really tried to stretch them so that in training camp we can get to the things that we feel like is going to best suit our team and our guys. But I think in the secondary, there's going to be really good competition at corner and at safety. And certainly I think guys that have really stood out, Derwin James, Chris Harris, those guys really, quarterback in our secondary, Nas, Vato, that's a really good group. And then we've got, a bunch of young guys competing. Asante, Mark Webb, Brandon Faison's done a nice job. Trayvon Campbell, Ryan Smith has been just a breath of fresh air as a veteran that we've just really enjoyed coaching, who's going to do a heck of a job for us in the kicking game too. So I just feel like, guys, I mentioned all these guys, and I'm forgetting some guys. It's just because we want to be a team on defense, and so the more we can do that, then the more the individual stuff will express itself. But it's been a lot of fun with our coaching staff, really getting to be around our guys.
So how's the development of Asante and Mark Webb coming along so far?
Yeah, those guys are really fun guys to coach. They're here early. They stay late. They ask a lot of good questions, high-level ball. They both come from high-level programs, and they've been able to dive in with some of our veteran players. We feel like we got an incredible DB environment. Ronaldo Hill, Derek Ansley, Tommy Donatel, Isaac Shoemaker, and then you add in like a guy like Chris Harris. That's like having another defensive coordinator because of all the ball that Chris has played. And Derwin James, that's like having a defensive coordinator because Derwin James is one of these just magnetic leader ball guys. So we just feel like it's an environment that's really competitive in all the good ways, where you can really push these guys from a technique, scheme, situation standpoint. And then now what's going to be fun is to see those guys compete full speed against pro players. And we got a bunch of wideouts and tight ends and backs on this team that are going to really challenge us. And I'm excited about that for both those two young guys.
Thank you, Coach Staley.
Thank you, Dennis.
Joe Reedy.
Brandon, as far as the staff getting to work with each other and the install, what did you think of the progress?
Yeah, Joe, I thought the last 2 days was kind of the culmination of a lot. We got, number one, from an operations standpoint in the morning, just activation, the stretch, the organization of special teams, just coordinating the workout to the walkthrough. I felt like from an operational standpoint, that's really important to me that we have clean practices that make sense for our players where we can maximize our time together. So I felt like we showed like we have a clue and that we're connected, which is always a good sign. But then, to see our systems kind of come to life, as we do a ton of, move the ball, first, second, third down, into the red area, first, second, third down, 2 minute, where you're playing the game all the time. And I'm really big on that. So situationally, you're always having to be aware of time, score, right, all that. And we were able to get in and out of personnel groupings. And the reason why we want to do that is because we want to figure out who our best players are, who our best combinations are. So I feel like in all three phases, especially in the kicking game too, I know Darius and Mayer were able to get in and out of a lot of, all those 4 phases, do a lot of great situational work. And our specialists, our punter, kicker, right, snappers, those guys were able to go full speed and get a lot of live work. When the rest of it was kind of tempoed down most of the time. So I felt like we got a pretty clean evaluation and a pretty clean operation as a staff. And I know that there's going to be a ton to correct. We're going to get right to that tomorrow, quality control on everything that we can do better, and it's going to be a long list. But we're excited to learn from it and then take it to camp.
In terms of the install, did you get everything in that you wanted to, or are you farther ahead than maybe you thought you'd be at this point?
Yeah, Joe, we ended trying to push it. Like I think the way we organized the 2-spot and kind of how we organized the offseason kind of allowed us to push it because you weren't having to, most OTAs, if you look back historically, other places we've been, you get full speed and a guy may get, 15 reps, 20 reps, and it's just not that many plays where we were able to get 65, 75 plays. So we were able to get a lot more literally repped, so we felt like we could push it from an installation standpoint, and we knew it wasn't all going to be perfect. We knew that movie may not, there may be a couple of double takes, on triple takes on it, but we felt like it was going to be worth it for July 27th.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
Shelley.
I had it unmuted. Okay. Is that why you went only 2 days instead of 3? It's because you were able to get so much stuff in and you plan on doing it rapid fire like that?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we really felt confident in what we were able to get done, Shelley, and felt like if we had the 2 days that I knew we were capable of having, that we could get out of here feeling really good about life. And I think that we accomplished that. I think our guys came in with the right purpose these last 2 days, and there's still stuff to iron out as always, but I felt like our competitive spirit was where I wanted it to be, and I felt like the focus was where we wanted it to be. So I felt like it was a really good 2 days, and they certainly earned a really nice vacation.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Hopper.
Hey, Brandon, just specifically with Joey, what traits have jumped out to you now that you've gotten to, meet him in person, work with him on the field a little bit, and how will those traits manifest themselves in sort of how you use him in your defense?
Yeah, he's got dominant edge characteristics. He's 6'5", 265. I think he takes care of himself. He's in really good shape right now. I feel like that stands out to me on the edge of your defense. He's got playmaking, dominant traits for that position from a physical standpoint. And then the thing that he does best is rush the passer, and I feel like you can see why he is such a premium rusher when you're around him in person, with just his hands. His quickness, his ability to process quickly on the move, and then he's just a relentless competitor. He's hard on himself. He's a guy that I think that we're really going to get the best out of him, and because he's willing to give his best, and that's when the great things can happen is if you're meeting each other like this. But I really feel like he's going to be a playmaker for us, and we're certainly still learning him. He's learning us. And so hopefully through training camp, we can really figure out exactly where that sweet spot is for him.
What's something that you've learned about your team this spring?
I love the makeup of our guys. I think that we've got the right makeup to go places that are hard to win in tough, difficult environments. I think we got the right makeup to be able to go in those tough environments and compete. And whether it's a win or a loss, Daniel, being able to keep it moving and being able to learn from it and have that mental toughness one way or the other to improve. And I think that that's always a fight each and every year with a team is developing that identity as a team that you can go anywhere in any circumstance and feel like you got a team that can win any game. And I think that makeup of your team is really important. And I think in all three phases of the game, we're going to have good enough guys to get that done. And I think during training camp, certainly we'll get a fuller eval when we got pads on and you're going full speed competition. We'll learn even more. But I really like the makeup of our group.
How much of your defense is installed at this point?
If you put a percentage on it, I would say over 90. I would say over 90%. There's a couple designer things that are really just more specific or not things that don't happen a lot. But, I mean, we really erred on trying to push it with this install. And I think our guys have absorbed it well. Our coaches have taught it extremely well. And I think we've created the right communication in order to play the way we want to play. Our guys have a foundation now in how we play and why we do that. And I think that that's what we were after, is to expose them to as much football as possible. And I think that, like I said, I would put a 90% on it. There's probably, that little 10% that's just a little bit more designer, a little bit specific, could be like a game plan oriented thing. But it's been good.
And then just in terms of vaccinations, as the head coach, how are you approaching that situation with your players, and sort of what's your messaging to your players on that front?
Yeah, we've been really clear and consistent on this topic, which was, hey, we're going to be giving you the information as it comes in. I think from a team standpoint, as you guys all are aware of, is a lot of these protocols have changed just since I've been hired, since January. There's so much that has changed on this topic. We've tried to take the three other professional sports that are currently kind of undertaking their season, kind of learn from what's going on in their leagues, and then take the information from the league. I know that the league has done a pretty effective job of communicating, and then like D. Smith and the NFLPA, just making sure that there's full education on both sides, because I think that that's what's relevant on this topic. And I think that the one thing that you'll find out about us is we're very transparent with our players, engaging them fully in the process. And I think that we've done a good job of that as a football team. And it's been one of those issues that I think that we've tackled successfully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kaylin.
Hey, Coach.
How we doing?
Chris Harris. I'm doing well. Appreciate you. Chris Harris described you as a relationships guy, like as far as being a head coach yesterday, and then Austin Eckler earlier today mentioned that you called him and he spoke pretty highly about how much that meant to him. I guess, like, why do you feel like I guess, establishing these relationships with your players, I guess with your coaches as well, is essential to building your culture?
Yeah, Kaylin, I think it's a great question. I think the more that you know one another, the more you can accomplish. Because when there's a foundation and a relationship, and you know exactly how one another operates, and then if you just kind of operate under the premise that we're all different. Like I can't coach Austin the same way that I coach Chris because they're different people. And so the only way I would know that is if I really dive into them, and that takes a lot of time and investment to do that. But that's why they call it investment. You invest in someone for a return later on. And this is a really difficult game. And there's a lot of challenging things that happen all the time, not just exclusive to the game and the season, but just every day as a pro, right? There's just so many things that happen, and we think that in order to tackle these challenges together, solve these problems that they're really tough, right, and create these solutions that are sometimes really specific, and you got to kind of have some patience with one another. The only way you're going to be able to do that is if you really trust one another, you really know one another. And I think what relationships also do in pro football is they allow you to get to the point quickly, right? Like we don't have forever. You guys, we don't have forever. We got to get to the point. And the way you get to the point is if you're like, yeah, DJ, we talk all the time. So when we talk, it's not like, oh, I need all this stuff from you. I just, boom, I got it. Like I snap my finger, I have it because, we've gotten to know one another. So it's really a big part of me. It always has been. You guys are aware of my story, son of a teacher and a coach. And I've seen the impact that can have. And I think it's not just exclusive to coach and player. I think it's everybody. It's coach to coach, player to player, and us, as an example as well. So I think that that's certainly a hallmark of what we're trying to do. And those two guys have really helped me a lot in these first 5 months. I told you guys I learn a lot more from them than they learn from me, And if my ears aren't open, then I'm going to miss it, And so I've got my eyes open, my ears open, and hopefully at the end of the day, that will allow us to be the team that we're capable of being.
Gotcha. And last question for you, I guess, how do you manage expectations with Justin Herbert? Because Drew Reed spoke with us earlier, and he mentioned in some advice to him that internally that he has to make sure that he manages the expectations after a big rookie year. I guess as a head coach though, how do you manage those expectations for him from your perspective?
I think we just focus on him being as good as he can be, focusing on him being himself, not trying to be somebody he's not, number one, but then attacking those specifics in his game. There's so much that you can improve on as a player, fundamentally, scheme, situation. There's so much that, with your body and just diving into you as a player and making sure that every day you're on in order to improve. And I think the way you manage expectations is the outside expectations will never, ever, ever, ever approach your own expectations for yourself. And I think that that's what I've tried to do with Justin Herbert is also allow him to know that we're going to push it together. And where he was last year is not where we're hoping to be this coming year. You can't. That's not enough. And he knows that, and that's why he's so much fun to work with because he's willing to put in the work, and he's got a lot of self-awareness. And so I think that the big thing with Justin or any player like him is just focusing on him, and always be, every day waking up trying to work at his game with the right spirit.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Last two for you, Coach. Jeff Miller.
Brandon.
Hey, Jeff.
What is your level of concern regarding the vaccine? It's my understanding the Chargers are quite low, the number of guys who've been vaccinated player-wise, in terms of any kind of competitive disadvantage that might be moving forward.
Yeah, Jeff, good question. I do not have any concern whatsoever on it affecting us. I know that we're going to figure it out one way or the other because that's just the hallmark of how we're going to operate around here. I would say that these things have a way of working themselves out the closer, you get to competition. And I know that our players are fully aware of what's at stake, and they've been in communication with one another, which is important, been in communication with us and our coaching staff, our personnel department, our organization. And I know that when it comes time to compete, I know the Chargers will be ready to compete with anybody we play.
just as the head coach, I imagine there's kind of a tightrope to walk here in terms of this. This is an issue that could potentially divide a locker room, and how do you avoid that from happening?
Yeah, I think Kalen hit on it, which is just you don't let this be the first time you've talked about something difficult, and this isn't the first time we've talked about something challenging together. And I think we've been open, honest about the entire topic. And I think that, again, the educational process, listening to one another, learning from one another, I think that that's what allows us to really attack this topic, head on, and just knowing how much it's changed, Jeff, like since January. And we kind of know where we think it's going to be for training camp. But I mean, there's a lot that's moving, and our guys know what's at stake, and I think that's the thing that I think everybody will discover when we get to training camp, is that everybody knows what's at stake, and everyone at the same time, we're never going to impose anything on these guys from that side of things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Last one, Gilbert.
Hey, Brandon, earlier you were mentioning how you want to make it harder for Justin Herbert. You want to push him every day. But how do you challenge a guy who had so much success a year ago with all the physical tools and is also a very smart player?
Yeah, there's just so much more work to be done. I think where he was at, I mean, from a whole part about being a pro quarterback, from the moment he wakes up to what happens in the weight room to what happens when he's in the nutrition side of things. Then from a fundamental standpoint, from a schematic standpoint, how much football he actually knows. Yeah, he had a good year in year one, but how much more football does he know now since January? He's been studying NFL football now for 6 months postseason, so he knows a lot more now. Now he has a new offense that he's learning how it can work for him, and it's that whole discovery process. As a competitor, you're always on a quest to become a better player, and it's that quest, it's that mission that you got to be on that allows you to improve. And where he was last year is not going to be where he is this year. He's going to be in a much better place because he's worked a lot harder, he's experienced a lot more, and he's capable of more because of those things, because of all he's put into his game. And I think his teammates will tell you that this guy's a much different quarterback than what showed up to training camp last year. And it's because of all the things that he's put into his game. And I can't wait for him to take advantage of these next 5 weeks so we can get to training camp. And like I said, the thing about him is he's really driven. And that's why he will improve every time he goes out there.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys, take care. Have a great day.
Coach.